At it again, and we've got one here with Dr. Phil. Yeah, it's interesting the direction that Dr. Phil's show has gone into, because I remember watching Dr. Phil like some years ago, and I don't remember it being anything what I'm seeing now. I think it's actually a decent show from the little clips that I've seen, right here on YouTube and stuff. And like I said, we've got a clip from the Dr. Phil show today. Shout out to Dr. Phil. But yeah, I like the direction that, him and, his crew, have taken their show. But we got to talk about reparations once again. And hopefully we can put this whole discussion to rest once and for all. Like, share, comment, hit that subscribe button if you are new, and let's dive in.
Support reparations. Why not?
Not everybody suffered equally. I mean, when you go into slavery, it's much more complex than white people were the oppressors and black people were the victims.
Facts.
If you dissect it, you will find there were about 3,700 free blacks who owned 12,000 slaves, black slaves. The question is, do the descendants of those free blacks who owned black slaves, do they pay? Blacks really...
Great question, my brother. I don't know if you guys have seen the clip. Actually, there's a clip of a lady by the name of Angela Davis. Let me see if I can find that, and if I can, I'll throw it into the video right here.
Any idea what you're looking at? That is a list of the passengers on the Mayflower.
No, I can't believe this. No, my ancestors did not come here on the Mayflower.
Your ancestors came on the Mayflower.
No.
You are descended
No.
from one of the 101 people who sailed on the Mayflower.
Oof. That's a little bit too much to deal with.
For those of you who don't know her, that's Angela Davis, one of the leading evangelists for anti-white racism in America, and a professor who also has endorsed the idea of reparations. And as you can see in that clip, she's quite taken aback when she discovers that not only is she the descendant of someone who was a passenger on the Mayflower, but she finds out later in the episode that she's also the descendant of a slave owner. It really makes you wonder, all of these people hooping and hollering about the need for reparations might want to take an ancestry DNA test before staking their entire career around.
So, I wonder if she still wants reparations now. Because according to her logic, she would have to pay. Come up off some of that cash. Your descendants were on the Mayflower and were slave owners? Sounds like we got ourselves in a little bit of a coinky-dink here, okay? Anyway, let's jump back into the vid.
Those free blacks who owned black slaves, do they pay? Blacks really benefited more the first 100 years after slavery we have in the last 50 years. I was born in 1937 during the Depression. Everyone in my small, low-income black community, 98% of the households had a man and a woman raising children. Elderly people could walk safely in that community without fear of being assaulted by their grandchildren.
And now you have kids running around in Chirac destroying property, and the mayor says, well, don't demonize the kids. What? If they're doing something wrong, they should be held accountable. Why are we worried about feelings? Oh, well, they're just acting out, because of what? All right. Okay. This stuff is just absolutely ridiculous. Chicago will be the first. Well, I don't know about the first, but Chicago will be the next city that fails. And when I say fail, I mean fails. All the businesses will leave. All of the mega corporations, the Walmarts, some of them are already leaving. The rest of them will leave as well. Any big box corporations will leave Chicago. McDonald's, if I remember correctly, was one of the big companies that said that they were thinking about moving their headquarters out of Chicago. And this was I want to say this was last year when they were talking about that. Then you'll have all of the rest of, the Republicans that are left in that city leave. Okay. Then you'll have some of the more well-off folks, the rest of them that are still left in that city leave. And what will you have left? A bunch of lawlessness in low-income areas and just about nothing else. And it's all going to be literally their own fault. There's no, the white man ain't responsible for this one, buddy. Because, Democrats love to point to white supremacy and all this other crap. Goodness gracious.
Never heard of gunfire during that time. Never heard of a child being shot to death in the crib. But there are 50 children today who have been shot and killed in our cities. If you're talking about remedies, we've got to look beyond saying that every solution has to have a winner and a loser, that blacks can only benefit if whites lose. We have to be defined more than just victims of oppression. When whites were at their worst, blacks were at their best. When we were denied access to hotels, we built our own. We have.
You'll never find that today, though. Ever. All you'll hear and see is the so-called black leaders crying and complaining about anything and everything when stuff doesn't go their way. If you guys haven't seen yesterday's video about Walmart leaving Chicago, definitely check that one out. But like even in that video, what were these so-called black leaders doing? Crying and complaining. And I even said that in the video. I said exactly what he said. I said, well, if it's such a problem that these big box corporations are leaving and, you think that they're racist and, hate black people, why don't you buy the facility that they used to use? You stock the shelves. You provide the good and the service for the community yourself. How about that? If the big box corporation doesn't want the business, why don't you take it? Oh, I forgot, because it's better now to just sit on your hands and cry and complain than it is to actually go and do something about something. But who am I?
To communicate to our people the history of how they achieved in the face of oppression. But if we continue to sit back and say all of the challenges that we face in out of wedlock births of violence, that somehow the control of that is in the hands of white America. And therefore, until white people change, there's nothing that we can do. This sets up a terrible situation for this nation. The big crisis facing America is not racial.
And I'll make this quick. I don't know, I've talked a lot, but it goes back to the saying that I've always referred to. And I want to say I heard this from Eric Thomas. He's a motivational speaker. He said, if somebody pushed you down and I come back a week later, it's no longer that person's fault that you're laying on the ground. It's now your fault. And that reigns so true, in my humble opinion, to a lot of Democrats' thought process, especially some black folks. They got pushed down. And they continually, matter of fact, it wasn't even them that got pushed down. Their grandparents' got pushed down. They were born, saw where they got pushed down at, and went and laid in their place. And sat there and cried and complained. And still do it to this day. Oh, they pushed me down. It's no longer that person's fault. First off, you weren't even the person that got pushed down. You weren't the person that went through slavery. You weren't the person that had to go out in them fields and face those harsh conditions. You weren't the person that even went through segregation or any of that. So what are you crying about? What are you crying about? But yet they still want to sit there and lay on the ground. They didn't do anything to you. Something might have happened to your grandparents, but that didn't happen to you. So why are you laying on the ground? That's your fault. But of course, I'm a Uncle T and all types of other names because I point out the obvious.
There's a moral and spiritual freefall that is consuming our children. The highest death rate among black families is homicide. Among Silicon Valley,
I've said that before too. I'm more likely to die around people that look like me than I am around any other race. How sad is that? Yeah.
the highest level of suicide, 6 times the national average. In Appalachia, they're prescription drugs. And so if we are to address this crisis that is causing our children to lack a sense of personal responsibility or value for their own life, they will take their own life or take someone else's. So in order to address that, we must come together and look beyond race and realize America is drowning because it's in a moral and spiritual freefall. None of us should be defined by the worst of what we were in the past, but we should be defined by what we want to become in the future, and that people are motivated to change when you give them a vision of victories that are possible, not constantly reminding them of injuries to be avoided.
I think it's not either or. I think it's
when you give them a vision of victories that are possible, not constantly reminding them of injuries to be avoided.
Showing them what's possible. Haven't I said that before? Haven't I said that before? In several videos, I've stated this idea that these leftist Democrats are doing black people a good is so dishonest. It's disgusting. When these leftist Democrats want to push, oh, the white man's going to tear you down. The white man is going to do this. You can't become like us. We got to give you affirmative action. We gotta push you into these positions because you can't accomplish it on your own. That creates a sense of hopelessness. That tells me that you think that black people can never be on your level. That's what you're saying. Oh, we need to give you a hand because you can't do it on your own. Oh, remember, the white man's always going to tear you down. What does that do to a young kid's mind who has dreams and aspirations of becoming somebody successful? Oh, well, if I become successful and I start making a lot of money, well, the white man's going to come take it from me, so why even try? But it's funny it's the Democrats pushing that, considering their origins.
I think it's not either or. I think it's and. I think we can do both. We cannot ignore the reality of systemic racism and how it's affected the black community. You can't just be like, we need to just focus on our own issues. The violence is happening in the black community. It's the black people's fault, and we need to focus on that. Actually, it's a lot of things. So we can't just separate them and be like, just focus on yourselves, don't worry about racism. It's finding us. It finds us wherever we go. It's not our fault, right? So what you're saying is we need to focus our issues on ourselves and not wait for this. No, we can do both. We can get reparations and we can work on issues within our community as we have.
And what are you going to do with those reparations? Go buy the biggest flat screen TV you could possibly buy? What are you going to do with these reparations? I'll wait. Hold on.
Always been doing, but we need to start removing the barriers that are there that shouldn't be there.
Do you
What
have
barriers?
a story?
What barriers? What barriers? What's stopping you? It's literally illegal. You show me the place that's not hiring you because of your skin color, and I'll show you a check. I'll show you a check. Just make sure you know what I'm saying. Cut me a little percentage. You know what I mean? Just a little bit. You know. Okay. I gotta eat too. You show me and I'll show you the check. What are we talking about? This is the problem. You've been crying about the same stuff for 60 years, and what's changed? What's changed? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. This is insanity. This is insanity. And on top of that, one of the problems that I have with reparations is it's never going to be enough. Because someone now is going to say, oh, yeah, $500 is plenty, blah, blah, blah. And the next person is going to say, no, $500 isn't enough. I want $1 million. Next person is going to say, oh, nope, $1 million's not enough. I need 7 million. Another person is going to come along and say that's not enough. And even if you manage to get everybody in alignment to agree, whatever, 7 million is enough. A generation from now, that generation is going to be like, no, that wasn't good enough. We didn't get any of that money. I didn't get no check. My grandparents did, but I didn't get no check. And then they going to complain. And it's just case in point. Shout out to James Klug. I got this clip from James Klug that is going to perfectly highlight exactly what I'm saying. Check this out.
Today, 2023, reparations needed?
Yes, that's a step in the right direction, but it's still like we still have a long way to go.
Were the people that died during the Civil War, do you see it as payment for slavery or no?
No.
No, I mean, people died during any war. Was that payment during the first Civil War? During the war in Afghanistan? People die in war, right? So that's not a payment.
They're trying to end slavery in the Civil War, is why I said that one.
It's still been in.
So it doesn't stop at reparations, keeps... Not at all.
It's just, honestly, it's just a start. Even if you still give us something, it's still not enough because it's just a starting point for everyone.
What would be enough?
I couldn't even tell you.
I rest my case. Shout out to James Klug. Make sure you guys go subscribe to his YouTube channel as well. But like I said, I rest my case. Y'all let me know what you thought about this one in the comment section below. Hit that like button. All right. Really helps out the YouTube algorithm. I would greatly appreciate it. All right. Leave a comment. That also helps out with the YouTube algorithm. It shows YouTube you guys are engaging with the content, which is always a plus. So helps it helps YouTube's algorithm know to push this video out to more people. So leave a comment, leave a like, and I'm going to catch y'all on the next one. Peace and love. I'm out.